Well, welcome to The View from Abroad. I'm Teresa Norton, and I am the Broad, and this is the podcast that looks back at columns that I wrote that appeared in Hong Kong South China Morning Post back in the 1990s. And I ask my guests to choose one of those columns to see what's changed in the world and what's changed in ourselves over 3 decades. So my guest today is originally from Singapore, but joining us from Portland, Oregon. We met when we were both living in Hong Kong. And Michele Koh is a psychotherapist and legal psilocybin facilitator, which means she prepares and guides folks on magic mushroom trips. So before transitioning into that career, she was working as a journalist. I've read some of her fiction. It's fabulous. But she was working for publications as a journalist with Al Jazeera, also with the South China Morning Post and The Lonely Planet. Look, I know that given what she's doing, you're going to be very interested to hear more about that. We'll get to Michele's work with clients at the break. But first, let's listen to the column that Michele chose. Making up is hard to do. I don't know. Maybe I'm nuts, but in this city where appearances are everything, generally speaking, I go out of my front door looking like a hillbilly. Well, all right, this may be a slight exaggeration, but I'm certainly no slave to fashion. I enjoy getting all dolled up if I'm going to have lunch with, say, the Pope. But I cannot justify the time and effort for a trip to the bank. It was not always thus. I used to take ages to get out of the house. As a teenager, I would sit for hours in front of a makeup mirror, complete with Hollywood lights around it, and camouflage my spots with Revlon's Anemic No. 3. I came very much from the school of more is more, and I applied this axiom in its most literal form when it came to eye makeup. In the late 60s, we girls liked our eyeliner black, and we liked it heavy. I had twiggy lashes drawn Perrault-like under my eyes. I applied the signature Cher Bono second brow, a black line that ran Cleopatra-like from the inside corner of the eye, following the curve of the brow bone and finishing somewhere in the region of one's temple. The overall effect was, well, alarming. My best buddy from high school and I took a tortuous trip down memory lane when I was back in the States. She pulled out the yearbook. Who were those sluts in the hot pants and false eyelashes? Those sluts are now our children's mothers. You looked great, always in that purple dress. I look like Jodie Foster in Taxi Driver, I said. Smile and accept a compliment. Besides, it's not our fault. We were born into this look, Susan said, defensively eyeing the black leather lace-up boots that covered the lower half of what seemed like miles of exposed leg attached to our class president, Paula Perez. Our poor mothers. And we both thought back to the innumerable battles over hem lengths and high heels. I think that working in the theater for so many years has burnt me out on fussing with appearances unless a spotlight is somehow involved in the event. However, when I received an invitation to a Christmas party last week, I sat myself down in front of the mirror and went to work painting my face with all the colors Max Factor had to offer. I attacked my hair with a hot curling iron and slipped on a black satin bustier with matching trousers. As I headed out to the festivities, I slung a tasteful little black handbag fetchingly over my shoulder, the shoulder of a crimson silk jacket. My taxi driver was suitably impressed, as was a carload of young local gentlemen whose compliments I couldn't clearly decipher over the roar of the traffic on Harbor Road. When my coach dropped me at my destination, I popped into a convenience shop for a packet of tissues with which to daub the vermilion lips I had inadvertently smeared during a sneeze in transit. A card table was set up at the back of the rather compact establishment, and around it were seated 4 elderly gentlemen. Their conversation stopped. The shopkeeper, who, in spite of the slight nip in the air, wore only a pair of oversized Bermuda shorts, accepted my coinage, complimented my Cantonese, and giving me an approving look, asked, "You work in the evening?" When I arrived at the party, it was clear that my efforts with the mascara wand were not in vain. But to each and every person who complimented me on my appearance, I replied, "Thanks, the guy who sells the Maltesers downstairs thinks I'm a hooker." Why do I care so little about how I appear to people? Well, maybe it's because I've learned to be happy with myself just the way I am when I roll out of the sack in the morning, and that first impressions are only lasting for people who can't be bothered to get to know you any better, and that a good laugh is better than a stiff drink for breaking the ice at a party. Yep, folks, I've learned a lot on the rouge-stained road to womanhood. But there is just one thing that I haven't managed to master. I can hear my best friend's voice whispering in my ear as I share it with you. Learn to smile and accept a compliment. Michele, I am so happy to have you here. I haven't seen that beautiful smiling face of yours for too many years.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Teresa. It's so nice to hear from you. And, it just feels like I'm living a whole different life here in Portland now. And it was, I don't know how many years it's been since Hong Kong, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first question I have to ask you is, why did you choose that column?
Here's that column because it's funny because I was back in Singapore visiting family. And a friend of mine said, "Aren't you gonna color your hair? Because I'm getting gray." And I said, and she's like, "You can just get a home kits, you know?" I'm just like, and I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, I tried that, but I don't have the energy for that, I just don't have enough time. There are plants that need to be watered. There's kitty litter that needs to be." So when I read that column, I was like, "Yeah, that's me. Making up is hard to do for me."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay.
Right.
Well, there's so much that can be unpacked with that column. Of course,
Mhm.
yes, the thing about how much we care about how we look when we go out the door, that's one thing, definitely.
Mhm. Mhm.
But there's also, that thing about looking slutty, like for me, looking back on those high school pictures. And
Yeah.
then, of course, when I had my kids and they were in their teen years, I mean, slutty looking was all the scene. We
Right.
had that post feminist thing with Madonna. And also, I remember that video with Christina Aguilera, and she was being like
Mhm.
greased up by 6 or 7 guys in a bikini or something like that. And I thought to myself, wow, things have changed, but have they changed for the better in that department? I mean, I look now, of course, that's going back 30 years. Even today, I just feel like, we're talking about things like the male gaze, but what about the female
Mm.
gaze? I mean, how are women looking at each other in terms of the way that they're presenting themselves, I guess?
I think that changes as well with age. Like the slutty dressing, that's a very, teens and early 20s, right? Because
Mm,
in a way, like, where that's the stage of life where you want male attention
yeah.
and you want other women to envy you or to want to look like you
Yeah. And even
realize
as
that that's capital, that's social capital, you know?
Right, right. And also, it's like what's in style at the time. When my
Yeah.
girlfriend and I, as adults with kids, were looking back on the pictures from the 70s with the hot pants and halter tops, and,
Yeah.
by then it had become a very conservative look that was more popular. So
Right.
these things kind of circle round. I guess also just the whole idea of slutty,
Mm.
that feels like
Mm.
that's a loaded word now.
Mhm.
What does
Mhm.
that even mean? I mean, what's being a slut supposed to mean? Looking slutty, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think for me, that's always kind of, are you dressing for attention? I guess back then it was, or maybe like slutty, you're sure revealing a lot of those parts that were like mating parts, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they're
yeah.
accentuating I don't know if I would necessarily say slutty, but I think the difference between when I was a teenager and I was making all that effort and really stressing out about presenting myself a certain way is I was looking for attention.
Mm,
I wanted to be seen. Right. It was so, it's like the birds with their big feathers. And it's all to do with mating, really.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So and, I mean, it could be other things as well. People dress for professional reasons and all that. But in the context of the column, I
Yeah.
think it's that kind of wanting to be seen in a certain way, in a way.
Looking more grown up, to look more grown up. I wanted to get out of high school, get into a little black dress with
Yeah.
a cocktail and a cigarette at a cocktail party. So I think part of it is that grown up thing. And it makes me think that in a way, nothing's changed.
Mm.
Girls have a lot of things that can help them look older.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
the thing that hasn't changed is that girls do grow up a lot faster and have a
Right,
costume
right.
and makeup that can help them look more grown up than their, male
Ah,
counterpart.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely, I think, like, all that effort put into the dressing up was such a big deal when I was young because I wanted to be grown up. Now, the after that, I'm just like, put me in sweats, I just want to be comfortable. But back then, yeah, there was that feeling of like, oh, look at those girls. Look at how well put together they're looking. Look at how womanly they are. And
Yeah.
as a teenager, like, couldn't wait to grow up, right? So,
Yeah.
and my dad didn't let me use makeup, so I had to sneak it, like,
I
go
was
out with the
gonna
girls.
ask
And
you about that.
so, I mean, yeah, I had to, like I said, I had to, like, I would bring dresses out and I was in a convent school at the time when I was 14. So I would, like, have after school, I'd have my little black dress packed in my backpack, and I'd change before we go hang out in the mall. But one thing I used to do, I remember that was, oh, now when I look back at it, so, part of the whole dressing up and being cool and sending out that signal of I'm I'm a
I'm hot.
wild woman, I'm
I'm a
hot,
wild
I'm
child.
yeah, and was like body modification, so tattoos and piercings, right? They were all that was like when I was probably it was probably like the 90s when I was a teenager. So
Right.
I used to hang out at the malls, and that's convent school girl. That's the only place I get to meet boys. So I remember I met someone who had um, a safety pin in his eyebrows, and I had a little crush on this guy, and he was like a DJ at the mall, and I thought that was so cool. So I asked him to teach me how to do that, right?
No.
Yeah, so you put some ice on your eyebrows, you sterilize the safety pin with a lighter, and then you grab and you pierce, right?
I think that
And
is actually a medically approved procedure. You use a lighter to sterilize.
but no, I mean it's not. But I mean the thing is, like, so every Saturday, that's like the day that I get to go to tea dances and maybe go to a club or a bar after,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I would I would pierce myself, and then before I go back at night, because my parents were gonna they flip out if they so I will remove the piercing, and the next week I would do it again.
Oh my god, so this is just like perforations in your did you
Yeah,
find the same spot? Could you find the same spot, or did you end up with, like,
usually
a you coulda gone to the tattoo parlor and had something that said, "Tear here."
I got a tattoo as well. 15 years old, I got a tattoo on I got two tattoos at the time, and I got one on my belly, like a big sun around my belly button. And I
And you were
remember,
able to hide these from your parents.
well, the belly button one was easy enough to hide, and the other one, but I
Well,
remember when my
wait a minute, I
dad,
interrupted you. Where was the other one?
the other one's on my butt.
And what
That's
was
like
it?
a hard that. It was a purple rose.
Well,
It
that's
was a.
very sophisticated, I think. That's very nice.
It was because I watched, what is it, like, Woody Allen's Purple Rose of Cairo, and I was like, ooh, I really like that. I like the idea of
Yeah.
the double life.
I remember I had, a boyfriend. Well, he wasn't really a boyfriend. He was a fellow that was kind of, we went out a few times, and it was
Hmm.
during the summer. He was a very nice boy, hippie guy with long curly hair. His hair always smelled like vanilla or coconut or something. It was that whole
Nice,
hippie thing,
yeah,
patchouli
yeah,
oil and all that.
right, right.
And I remember saying to him, I think I was probably about 17, and I said, I'm thinking that I'm going to get a tattoo of a little bitty heart right here on my chest. And
Hmm.
he said to me, these were such words of wisdom. He
Mm,
said, at some point in your life, that is
mm.
going to be the longest heart. I don't know if we will ever get beyond the reality of being these primal human creatures that we see, provided you're a seeing person,
Mhm.
you see first. And when somebody's coming towards you, you're already making decisions about the
Yeah.
degree to which you trust them, the degree to which you
But it's
admire them.
evolution. It's evolution as well because physical symmetry, good skin, good hair, all of that stuff, accentuated, body parts and everything. It's it's all to do with health.
Mhm.
So I mean, in a way, somebody cannot have all the accoutrements, but they can be in very good health, and that will show in the shape of their body, and things like that. And I think we are drawn to that because as any species, right? And we want
So
to
you're good looking for good stock.
yeah, we're looking for good stock. We want to avoid illness. We want to
Yeah.
avoid disease. So
Right.
there's that there's a very instinctual response to you know the
This is a very interesting point you're making because I'm just thinking about, we have such a huge homeless
mm,
crisis around the world
mm-hmm,
right now. I don't see that so much here. I didn't see it so much in Hong Kong, but when I go to London or I go back to the States, I mean, it is just
Portland.
heartbreaking.
Yeah,
And the fact of the matter is, there is compassion, but there is also, on some level, some revulsion. And
right.
you hate the fact that you don't want to be close to somebody on a bus or whatever who is
Mm,
been living rough.
mhm,
But maybe what you're saying there, and I'm not saying this is a get out of jail free
yeah,
card for not wanting to be touched or touch people who
right.
have been living rough, but maybe part of that is just a primal instinctual thing of wanting to not get sick. I had never thought of that before. Hmm. Hey, listen, let's take a
Mm,
break because I know
okay.
people have been, chomping at the bit to hear about what you do for a living. So we'll be right back with that. Okay, Michelle. Now, I mean, I'm fascinated by this. You are a legal therapeutic.
Legal psilocybin assisted therapy facilitator. So legal psilocybin therapist.
Okay, so okay, couple of questions. One
Yeah,
question is, who would come to you and for what
right.
reasons?
Right. So all kinds of people from all walks of life. I've had, like NASA scientists, mathematicians, politicians, and then I've had farmers and delivery drivers, just all walks of life. Mostly people from the age of 50 to 80.
50 to 80, and they're coming to you in order to discover something or fix something.
Well, there are a lot of things like some people come for mental health, like they're struggling with OCD. A lot of people struggling with depression and anxiety. Some people with chronic pain, and some people getting over grief. They've been grieving for their spouses or their children who have passed, and they're kind of stuck. And some people coming in for addiction, problems with addiction, relation.
Yeah. Okay. So wait a minute, I got to stop you here. Okay, so a few things come up for me. One thing is people coming in for addiction and then they're
Mhm.
taking a psychotropic
Psychedelic,
drug.
yeah, yeah.
So how does that
How does that
work?
work? A lot of people report like after taking psilocybin, their cravings for say alcohol or marijuana or whatever, they don't crave it so much anymore. There's like an internal homeostasis, I think, that somehow people can get to after, so that their bodies become more sensitive. They become more attuned to that part of them that is able to calmly guide them to what is for their highest good, I suppose.
So is it a little bit like I'm thinking like hypnotherapy except that you're
So,
in a psychedelic state, so your role as a facilitator is to talk them through
so
something?
what I do. So a lot of people, the big one that I get a lot is people who are just kind of wanting to feel more joy in their lives, or who want, like maybe they feel they have 20 years left to live and they want to make sure it's a good 20 years. They want to do what they feel is meaningful and has purpose and brings them joy, right? And they're coming in to get the permission to reclaim their joy, right? So what happens is something happens with the default mode network. The default mode network are like, parts of your brain that communicates, right? They're these like little patterns, and that makes you you. That's like your ego in a way, your personality. So what happens during a psilocybin experience is those signals get scrambled. So there's more chaos in the brain for those 4 to 6 hours. So let's say if like Teresa has great work ethics, and and work ethics means you don't stop working till everything is done. So that's point A to point B, C, D, E. So that's the messaging. Those grooves are set, and that becomes your
Right.
personality.
Neuropathway type
Neural
thing.
pathways, exactly. So when you take psilocybin, it starts communicating with F, Z, and there are parts of your brain that have been very dormant. So you have the opportunity to have a clean slate.
True confessions here.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, I did psychedelics a couple of times, and
Mm-hmm.
they were a cause of anxiety. Like, I thought, this isn't fun. I think the building's on fire. So what is your role when the person's, in this hallucinogenic state? What are you doing?
Okay. So set and setting is a big part of this. When we're younger and we're doing psychedelics recreationally, usually people at concerts or they're taking a walk in nature, there's a lot of distraction. In a way, it can still be beneficial, but there's the therapeutic value isn't there because with psilocybin therapy, what happens is you wear eye shades and you have music. So before a session, what I do is I will meet with the client. We'll have about an hour where I will prepare them. I will let them know everything they can expect, including what a challenging experience might look like. So if it does get a little scary, they know how to handle that. So I'll walk them through everything. We'll talk about what's the right dosing for them. I talk a bit about music and the rationale behind that. And then they go into intention setting. Now, this is a really important part. This is how the therapy part, right? Where they talk about, well, why am I doing this and why now? I'm not doing this like to
Party.
get high. I'm doing this because I want to do some inner healing. I want to go in there and battle my demons, or I want to
Yeah.
go in
Yeah.
there and find a pearl of wisdom or something. So, kind of helping people to determine what it is they want. Some people might be, I want clarity around whether or not I should stay in my marriage. I want how to deal with my caregiving responsibilities or my kids who have autism, or I
Yeah.
want to stop being so, obsessive about cleanliness. And usually there's an underlying theme that ties all of the intentions together. Once they know why they're doing it, that shifts things a little because they're
Yeah.
not, they know their purpose for being there, and
Yeah.
that's the work that they're going to do.
Yeah.
Right.
So when I'm in that state and we've already determined what
Hmm.
is the upstream of this problem or the root
Right.
cause, what are you doing? Are you talking to
So
me?
at that point, I'm your trip sitter. I'm there to keep you safe because sometimes people can get really dysregulated and they may want to run out of the service center, or they may have a full-blown panic attack. That's when if they're managing it fine, I'm usually just there reminding them to breathe, helping them to get extra blankets, water, writing down their thoughts when they share it out loud so they don't have to come out of that state. They can share it with me and I'll record it and we'll go through it again. But which happens about 20% of the time, somebody gets really dysregulated, that's when, you know,
What do you do? Put them in a
that's
straitjacket.
no, that's when I come, I hold their hands and I talk them through the rough patch. I remind them that they're having a psychedelic experience. I help them to calm their nervous systems down so that they can ride out the rougher patch and kind of sometimes the whole journey might be uncomfortable and difficult, but we want to make sure that they stay in the service center in a safe place from start to finish.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is fascinating. So,
The last part, which is really important though, is
yeah.
is the integration. So it's what happens after. So it doesn't really matter whether you have I feel one with everything experience, or oh my gosh, I was in hell. That is besides the point. The point is what happens after, because that's when you have, for 2 to 3 weeks, you have another critical learning period, which means your brain is more, your guards are down, and you're more able to take in new perspectives and learn new behavior.
is that because I was using this crazy thing with my hands. Is it because those pathways are
That's right. Yeah. So what we do then is we have another session, or we can have a few more sessions after that, where I help my client to integrate the experience. I help them to find those those pearls from the experience that they might want to translate that into their day-to-day lives to make changes.
it is
Yeah.
fascinating. It is legal in Portland.
That's right. The first state that it's legal. It's also recently been legalized in Colorado, in New Mexico. And I think they're talking about legalizing, or they have legalized it in the Czech Republic as well.
Um, I think the first time I heard about this was with post-traumatic stress with
Mm-hmm.
soldiers coming back.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that they, like the military, discovered that
Yeah.
there was some benefit to this, but I never
Yeah.
understood how it worked. Listen, can I give I'm going to give the website here, whether
Okay.
or not you're living in Portland, and you just might find it interesting to read more about it. It's
FC.
www.numen-nosc, right? Therapies, IES.com.
NOSC. Yeah. Non-ordinary states of consciousness.
Non-ordinary is right. And how lucky they would be to have someone like you. If you had been there, I wouldn't have thought the building was on fire, probably.
Or if it was, I'll be able to get you calmly out.
Oh, okay. We're going to go back to the View from
Okay.
a Broad podcast talking about that column. And I want to hear your story, Michele Koh. Okay, so here we are. And I always ask my guests to share some true story from their own life that was somehow stimulated by something in that column. What came up for you?
So I remember you when you talked about the camouflaging the spots with Revlon. Is it anemic number 3 or something? Yeah, yeah. Oh man, as a teenager, like the whole going out, because I was a teenager at spots, right? And just like I'd have to set aside, like it felt like a whole half hour just to get the concealing right. And because you have to make sure that it's hot in Singapore. So you put the concealer, and then you want to make sure you have enough powder so that it doesn't like cut and show that you have concealer. So you want to make it look as flawless as possible. So just covering up a spot was like the most
Amazing.
effortful part of painting the face, right? And and I was just thinking, well, isn't that funny that so much of making up is about concealment,
Yes.
masking,
Yeah.
it's just kind of letting go of all those things, all the ways that I feel I should be that would make me acceptable.
Mm.
Um, and trying to kind of be okay with that spot, that blemish, and
Imperfection.
like imperfection. It's okay. I don't have um, to work so hard to present the face that I think I should be presenting.
I was
Um,
just watching something that was talking about some facial mask out of
mhm,
Korea
mm,
on Facebook, these ads that
yeah.
come through. And this obsession with having absolutely porcelain smooth skin and Botox. Like, I think to myself, I mean, I've got wrinkles, but they're because
Mm,
I use my face to
mm,
express myself, right?
yeah, yeah,
I'm not judging
yeah,
anybody for what you
yeah,
do, what makes you happy. But
yeah,
I think your point is very well taken, that a
right.
little exploration around what is the root cause? What is the thing that you feel like you gotta hide or change or?
Right. I think, like, remember I was sharing a little earlier about health, right? Like, I'm not sick. Um, so when you have a spot, you feel kind of like, ugh, icky, and like, my hormones are out of balance or whatever. So I think that need to hide diseased parts, or to hide, even when we make connections with people, right? Um, I mean, as a therapist, what I find really beautiful now, because I'm also a licensed counselor, is that I get to meet people on the spot level, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you realize that, it's wounds, it's spots, it's all of those things that make us unique, and that make us completely human. It
Yeah.
is it's the diseases we have, and all the not so nice things, you
Yeah.
know, and and the spotless skin, the well made up face, the everything super healthy, and that's the cell. That's what
Mm.
that's what that's what we have to put out there to so that people will want to make that connection with us. It's not bad. Yeah, and it's not bad to want that. Do whatever you need to do to project that and feel healthy. If that makes you feel that you have a more healthy self to present, by all means, whatever that means to you.
Get honest with yourself about what you're doing and why
Yeah.
you're doing it,
Why you're
right?
doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it for you, or is it for somebody else?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, my dear, thank you so much for joining us. Here we are at the end of our journey. And listen, if you are listening and enjoying The View from Abroad, please, please do spread the word by sharing links with your friends. Also, commenting. And if you're enjoying it and you can rate the podcast, that would be great. It would be a big help to us. And listen, whatever kind of a trip you're on at the moment, breathe all the time. Come up slowly. What if it's good?